Hey, Bastish B for 64K and welcome to another episode of Top 10s. Whoa.
Welcome to 64K, hosted by Bastish B.
And welcome back. So today's episode is going to feature my personal favorite top 10 Sega Megadrive / Genesis racing games. So unlike some of the other top 10s I've done before, this kind of genre within the Mega Drive or Genesis is really quite unique. There wasn't any particular company that dominated everything, which made the system pretty diverse when it came to racing games. You got all types. You got like first person, third person, you've got like overhead, you got 3/4 views, you got a lot of racing destruction games, regular racing games, stunt racing games. It's a pretty diverse mix, which makes this kind of top 10 quite interesting. Also in this top 10 I am going to be including racing destruction games, games like Roadblasters where, rockets and guns come into play, because that genre on the Mega Drive or Genesis, the kind of racing destruction genre, there's not a heck of a lot of games, and if I did make a separate list, a top 10, there wouldn't be room for like pretty much anything to be off that list, so it wouldn't be very interesting. So I'm adding racing games and racing destruction games into this in one list. So as per usual with my list, right before the number 1 reveal, I'm going to show a few honorable mentions, so if you don't see your favorite game up until that point, it might be in there. Like I said before, this is just my personal favorite racing games on this system. It doesn't mean they are the best. Okay, let's start that countdown. Ayrton Senna's Super Monaco Grand Prix is an arcade Formula 1 racing game released in 1992 by Sega and was a sequel to the original arcade game. The big difference between that and this version is the inclusion of the Senna license and all the multiple modes it offers as opposed to the arcade's original one track. You have arcade style races as well as the Senna GP, which is basically the World Championship plus a lot of extras. Senna's input into the game was designing a few fantasy courses, recording voiceovers, and giving the player his views on each of the real-life tracks. This game is pure arcade racing bliss. It's very fast and addictive, with a good learning curve if you want to master it. I played a lot of Formula 1 games over the years, and even though the cars in this game feel a little bit more like go-karts, the racing gameplay is solid and addictive, putting GP2 at the number 10 slot.
Number 9.
Roadblasters is a 1991 arcade conversion by Tengen from the 1987 Atari arcade game of the same name. It's a racing destruction game with the goal of making it to the end of the 50 levels of racing in this post-apocalyptic setting. You have guns and rockets at your disposal which can be used to blast anyone that gets in your way, all while picking up fuel to keep the rampage going. The game requires quick reflexes if you want to make it all the way to the end, as the difficulty ramps up pretty quickly. The graphics are almost identical to the arcade version, and the sound effects and music do a pretty good job. I've played this game in many different versions, everything from the NES to the Commodore 64, but this slick, well-made port is by far the best and the most faithful.
Number 8.
Lotus 2 Rex is a 1993 release made by Gremlin Graphics and published by Electronic Arts. The game itself is a port of a popular Amiga racing series, in particular Lotus 3, with the addition of a level editor or Rex, Race Environment Construction System. The game graphically is almost the same as the previous Mega Drive release, Lotus Turbo Challenge, which is also a great game worth playing. Unlike the first game, this one is loaded with options, from the course editor, time attack, championship modes, and lots more. There's a bunch of fast, fun tunes to choose from as well, Outrun style, but none of the music matches quite up to the Amiga versions, unfortunately. Overall though, it's still a quick and fast racer that plays well with a wealth of options and diverse courses to tackle, and enough to keep you racing for a long time to come. At the number 7 slot is Powerdrive, an excellent 3¼ view rally driving game by Rage Software that was released in 1994. Rage were a British software company that you may know from their Dreamcast releases like Incoming and Expendable. There aren't a ton of rally games on the Mega Drive or Genesis, so this game has always grabbed my attention and turned out to be a really fun experience. Lots of modes are available, and many courses from around the world, coupled with some tight controls, which admittedly is going to take some practice. I like the damage system, where the worse you drive, the more clunky the car becomes. Fixing it between races costs cash, and bonus money and repairs can be picked up during the race, super off-road style. Nice graphics and some decent tunes round out a bit of a forgotten racer that was available as a physical version in Europe, but only online through the Sega channel in North America.
Number 6.
At the number 6 slot we have Outrunners, which is the official sequel to the original Outrun and was released in 1994. There are a bunch of Outrun games available on the Mega Drive and the Genesis, from the original to Turbo Outrun, all the way to what the hell is this, Outrun 2019. But this is a unique and fun experience all around. It plays a lot like the original, with the branching paths and pretty cool music selection featuring a lot of the classic tunes. You're always racing an opponent in this as well as the clock, and the Japanese version of the game even features the F1 car from Virtua Racing as a secret, making that version the one you want to get. The graphics are good without being spectacular, as is the music, but with that really addictive Outrun sliding around corners mechanic, I had a lot of fun with this, and it's definitely worth checking out.
Number 5.
And for the number 5 spot, I've chosen Super Hangon by Sega, which was released in 1989 based on the 1987 arcade game Hangon by Yu Suzuki. This version includes the full arcade game plus original mode, which is a sort of career mode with sponsors and bike upgrades, which is an excellent addition to an already great game. It features tracks from all over the world like Europe, Africa, Asia and America, and outruns choose your music track before racing. This is arcade racing at its best and is easy to get into and takes skill to master, and is a very satisfying play. Fast gameplay and tight controls, and pretty good graphics considering this was a first wave 1989 release, with a great selection of tunes as well. The career mode is definitely the highlight here, with the upgrading of your bike and the constant progression adds a lot of replayability to this excellent package. Next we have Super Skidmarks, released in 1995 by Codemasters, based on the original Amiga game, which was a massive hit at the time. This version thankfully does not disappoint. The game follows the tradition of many of these isometric view games, where racing on short quick tracks while smashing your way to the lead was all part of the fun. The graphics are pretty cool with smooth animation, and it plays really well, and you'll definitely be addicted after just one race. The big difference between this and other games of this similar style is that even playing this game in single player mode, it's still extremely fun and doesn't really rely on multiplayer to carry the gameplay. Having said that, having up to 4 players mashing it out at once is brilliant, and it uses Micro Machines J-Kart to achieve this. The only downside to all this is that this is a European Mega Drive only release, but there are obviously many options out there nowadays for everyone to still try this one out.
Number 3.
And at the number 3 spot we have Virtua Racing, released in 1994 based on another Yu Suzuki arcade game that came out in 1992. This is an amazing conversion considering the system's limitations, and it's all thanks to Sega's SVP or Sega Virtual Processor chip in the cartridge that this game is able to achieve a very good representation of the arcade giant. The game is an arcade style F1 racer with 3 fantasy courses to choose from, with varying difficulty, as well as the option to jump between 3 different viewpoints on the fly, which works absolutely brilliantly. This version also includes a 2-player mode and runs very smoothly, and the graphics are amazing for a Genesis/Mega Drive 3D game. Music is your usual Sega jams, nothing too memorable this time though, but that Outrun style racing the clock to get to checkpoints gameplay is alive and well, and it's as addictive as ever in this extremely impressive arcade conversion.
Number 2.
For my number 2 choice, I got F1 or Formula 1 in the US, which was released in 1993 by Domark. F1 is a full Formula 1 simulator that has all the 12 courses from the F1 season, as well as licensed drivers and cars, with the exception of Senna, who was licensed to his own game by Sega, which we saw earlier. F1 is a spiritual sequel to Vroom, an Amiga and PC F1 game that was released in 1991. The graphics on this game are quite amazing, using a combination of 2D sprites and 3D polygon graphics to the max, without the need for extra cartridge acceleration. It's fast-paced and captures the F1 feel extremely well, not only from the looks, but the gameplay is perfect, requiring you to actually use the brakes intelligently to fly around these amazing courses. The sound effects capture that whine of the engine, and you even have the option to turn on turbo mode, which compresses the screen down, therefore increasing the speed of the game to ridiculous levels. It's totally unnecessary, so just stick with the regular mode, which is plenty fast. This game also spawned a sequel, F1 World Championship Edition, which I never got to play, so whether it's better or more of the same, I'm not 100% sure. But this version is absolutely brilliant anyway, and is hands down a must-play racer on the system. So before we go into the number 1 slot, let's check out my 4 favorite honorable mentions. Okay, so first up we got Skitching. It's basically a rollerblading exploitation game. It's Road Rash on rollerblades. It's made by Electronic Arts. It's a really fun game. It plays out very much like Road Rash, so if you like that series, you're gonna like it. It's fun, it's fast, it's well made, and it's definitely worth a go. And next we got Super Off-Road. This game's been ported to every single system under the sun. Fortunately, it's been pretty good on almost all systems. I've really enjoyed it on various versions, and this is no exception. The cars handle a little bit weirdly in this one. They bounce around a lot compared to the other versions, but besides that, it's still another great arcade conversion of this classic game. So if you still like that, or you want to just play something super arcadey, then Super Off-Road is a good choice. And next we got Micro Machines 2 by Codemasters. This is out of all the Micro Machine games, I would say the second one's my favorite. It's super difficult, it's not going to be for everybody, it's hard to play. The reason why it's not in my top 10 though is because I feel that this game, when you play it with multiplayer with a bunch of friends, it becomes 1,000 times better. When you play it by yourself, it's a decent game, but it's just nowhere, it doesn't compare to when you play it with friends. That's the only reason why I don't put it in my top 10, but if you have a bunch of friends and you want to play this style of game, then this is definitely the choice, Micro Machines 2. And the last game I want to mention here is called Outlander. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic driving / side-scrolling action game. That's the reason why I didn't put it in my top 10, because it doesn't really fit in with the driving thing completely, so it just doesn't really work. Anyway, it's the driving aspects of this game are pretty damn cool. I really like it. The graphics are extremely good. It's fast paced, it's really fun. The platform side-scrolling action kind of sequences are decent, so you know, if you want to try out a game that is a little bit different, that doesn't really get talked about that much, Outlander, then this is a good choice. It doesn't fit into this list like I said, but I don't think I'd be able to put it on any other list anyway. It's definitely worth giving this game a go. It's not the greatest game in the world, but it's still very interesting. And now let's check out the number 1.
And number 1
is Road Rash 2, which was released by Electronic Arts in 1992. I'm guessing you can't have expected this to be the number 1, and I know it may be a little bit cliche. It's always been my personal favorite racing game ever since I first turned it on. As the name suggests, this is the second game in the series. You should also check out the original, which is pretty damn awesome, and the third one, which, despite some weird graphical choices, plays pretty well. And let's not forget the excellent 3DO version as well. The series has a really good legacy, as long as you ignore the 3D entries. This game is like an illegal cannonball run style races across various US locations, where racing and fighting your way literally to the front of the pack is the goal, while always avoiding the police and innocent civilians. The courses are long and full of perils, and stealing weapons from fellow unsavory competitors and laying the smackdown on them is all part of the fun. Buying new bikes with your race money and nitros, which were introduced in this sequel, just add to the coolness of this game. The graphics are colorful and flow well, with a good sense of speed, with some meaty sound effects. The music is by Commodore 64 chiptune king Rob Hubbard, and is one of my favorite tunes on the system, next to Desert Strike's rocking opener, which was also Hubbard by the way. Racing wise, there is no game on this list I played as much as Road Rash 2, which is always my go-to measure for the top spot, and deserves it. And if you've never had a chance to play this, now's the time. And I hope you enjoyed that top 10. If you didn't already know, I've got a lot of other top 10s dealing with different systems and different genres, so you can check those out if you want to. Thanks for joining me, Bastish B, at 64K. I hope you had a good time. If you can like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!